Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My name is Aldo Matza, percussionist, drummer, and artistic director of KoSA Music, inviting you to listen in conversation with friends, artists, professionals, and experts in our music world. And remember to subscribe so you may receive notices of new and upcoming episodes and other great stuff coming up. Today I have the great pleasure of having with us Mr. Russ Lawton, Mr. Groove himself. And we've been chasing each other, with his touring with Trey and Trey Anastasio and all of that. Finally, we got it together. Thank you so much, Russ, for joining me and us today on this Shaping Your Journey conversation.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you again. It's been a few years.
Yes. You were at KoSA a number of times in the Vermont project. So that was always great, being part of the mix.
All these drummers in one spot, a half hour from my house. It's great.
Nice. Before we get into the whole conversation of Shaping Your Journey, I just want to ask you a question, just to share with us, where did this all start for you? Like, what was that seed that was planted? Where did that first spark? Where did it start for you?
Drumming Bugle Corps in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I used to go to this, I'm half Portuguese, so they have the Portuguese feast every summer, and it would be this big parade to come down Earl Street. I remember even knowing the name of the street. And the drums would be, doing the marching thing, and I get all emotional. I was a young kid. I don't know what was going on. I was like, why am I crying right now? It really hit me. And then they used to rehearse up the street, and my cousin was the snare drummer. So I started doing that with him, like the junior drummer Bugle Corps. I think I was like 10 or 11.
Nice.
It's
funny, Russ, because you're not the first person. There are so many of us that started that way. That was my experience too, except they wouldn't let me play the drums. They had too many drummers, so they had me play bugle. So I had to play bugle first, and then but what I would do is I'd show up to the rehearsals before, in case one of them couldn't make it or would drop out. Then I would learn all their stuff with all this, but it never happened. Nobody ever left, and I stayed to bugle until the end, until I left the band.
That's so funny, because I was going to play bugle too for the same sort of reason. But then I would go to the rehearsal before I joined with my sticks, and the drum instructor like, "Hey, you play drums? Play me a roll." And I said, "You're in the drum line." I'm like, "Okay." So it was like, I was just being humble and thinking that same thing. I couldn't, whatever. I was too young, and that's funny, man. That's the same. I have one of the bugles downstairs, actually.
Really? Nice. But I think you were smarter because you brought your sticks. Now I realize what I did wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. I just always had my sticks in my back pocket. I didn't even have it, I just had like a cheap snare drum. I don't know. Nice. I was a kid, just figuring it out. But it was right up the street. I could walk there. I used to walk there and watch them rehearse. And they used to rehearse in my house too. So, because they used to do all the competitions in the summer and the football fields and stuff. It was a very big influence on me. And then the Beatles came out, and then I saw them on Ed Sullivan, and I got a paper route, and then I got a drum set, and I was like, I want to play the full drum set. So started getting in bands.
Wow, that's so funny. I think we should all write a book, and I think it would be the same stories though, so it might be boring because Beatles, Ringo Starr, that famous night when. I have these conversations with a lot of the guys who had exactly that experience, and I can't imagine how the world would have been otherwise, Russ. I always think about that. Can you imagine if that night had not happened, we would have been a different world, a different planet.
Yeah, it's funny. I latched on to other bands, but it was just one of those moments. And it's funny. I saw my cousin, who I was over at his house. And I'm a pretty, nice guy, whatever. But he says, yeah, you kept coming to shush, because he was talking to me. I was trying to watch, like, shh. And I'm not really like that. You know what I mean? I was just sort of, and I was like, wow, I did that. I guess that was really important to me.
Sure. Oh no, that was very impactful. I remember it as if it was yesterday, that night. And it was we're just glued. And because it was right after the Bonanza show. and then
Oh, okay,
we
yeah.
right. So we were just glued. And the next morning, I'm sure you had the same experience. Greg Bissonette, like everybody I know of that generation, said exactly the same thing. Showed up at school the next morning, and you're a musician. You never played an instrument, but you were a musician, and now you formed a band. And we formed
Yeah.
a band in the basement with brooms and just playing air, and then developed from there. But what did you do
Yeah,
from
we
there?
talk. I can remember the next day. I remember in the hallway talking to other people about the thing on Monday morning, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And then their music was so addictive. It's so good. It wasn't like some like I used to. Some once in a while you play an album. You're like I used to like this, but not, those guys. It's like it's amazing. Obviously,
Yeah. And then there's something that I mean, and you'll understand this because when your name came up, Peter Wilder, who was our
oh
marketing
yes,
guy and my very, very close friend at KoSA in Vermont, when he suggested, because I didn't know you, and he said, who would be really cool here is Russ Lawton. I said, okay. Who is he? Well, he plays with Trey Anastasio from Phish, and I think you'd really like him, and he would be really good in the mix. So of course I trusted him, and yes,
yeah,
and so your thing is all about playing the music, and that's really important because more and more as I get older and more mature, not that I didn't think of like this before, but now I'm really convinced that you're playing music, regardless of the instrument you're playing. So getting back to Ringo, I say to people, he didn't play drums. He played music. And
yeah,
everything that he played was meaningful and it was well thought out. At the beginning, yes, and as time went on, even more so. Every single note that he played was meaningful. It was like the words to the song. You can't change them. Otherwise, it's
yeah.
a different song. So
So
that's
good.
and you're like that.
Oh, thank
When
you,
you
man.
when you
I mean, I've
play,
always been in bands, original bands. I never really, I mean, Trey was the first time I got hired by like, a big name guy or whatever. Before I've been in, I can tell you stories. I played in
do
bands for years
do it.
and years. I got to Vermont because I joined the band with the percussionist from that band, Zzebra from London. That's how I got to Vermont because he married a woman from Vermont. I was like, what's that guy doing up there, man? I drove up there. But we had this band and it was a cooperative thing, but it was always like that kind of a thing, even with him. And he was like, I really looked up to him and he taught me so much, but it was, Trey was like, I never was looking to get into, whatever, trying to get that big gig in the sky. And just, I've always like my boys playing and writing songs and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But did you study drumming? Did you go to university?
I didn't. Well, what I did study with, it's funny, when I was living in Boston, Arthur Press from the Boston
Oh,
Symphony,
of
he had a
course.
school called the Newton Percussion Academy. And he opened this thing and they were advertising it on like this big rock station. I'm like, wow, because I was getting my butt kicked. I was like, at that age, 18, 19, I was playing musicians that were a few years older than me. They went to Hart Conservatory and this, and I was playing this funk thing, and I was like, I was a low man in the totem pole, and like the guy Doug Wimbish from Living Color was on bass, and he,
Wow.
and it was like all these guys that just, I went to high school in Cape Cod, so it was very insular, Boston's right up the road, which I ended up moving to, but. So I studied with this guy Gene Roma. He did a lot of Broadway stuff, and I studied with him for a couple semesters, and it was really you needed to get over that, hand technique, the whole thing, you do it. So
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
helped me a lot. And then I got totally obsessed, and I'm still obsessed. You know what I mean? My daughter's here, and she's like, you gonna practice? Like, yeah, hush. We have a little granddaughter here, so I'm out in the woodshed, and that's where I'm practicing while they're here, so I won't disturb the naps.
Nice. But
Yeah, so I studied with him for not that long, but then I started playing with Lofty from Zzebra, and then God, that was like going to school because he was like he taught me so many like and I was playing like Afro-beat stuff in in late '70s, and which I still use to this day. But it's like that was an education in itself.
nice. So you're always surrounded with like musicians who talked about music all the time. Wasn't how fast can you play this and all of that stuff.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about that a little bit when because I was young. I put, but that was the biggest lesson. I still say it to this day. I was playing his music, and I really had to practice it a lot because it was a little different than I was used to. And then he sat me down one night, and my brother, man, I liked it when you first played the songs, nice and simple, man. Because what happens, you get used to it, and you start taking liberties that you shouldn't be taking.
Right,
But he
right,
was
right.
nice enough to, like, instead of freaking out on me, he just sat me down because he knew how important it was for me to, to play the music correct.
Yeah, yeah. And
It
playing the
was,
right part, playing music, and that's it's amazing. I think back of on when finally that documentary with Ringo Starr, with the Beatles documentary.
right, right.
So
Oh man.
learning about the process, and I had these long conversations with Greg Bisonet, who's playing with Ringo, about this because
Unbelievable.
I went through a phase where I analyzed everything and I charted all the stuff and realized how complex, how interesting those parts really are, and it's
Yeah.
music. It's notated, and I have a whole different thinking approach to drumming, and it's all about not really so much rhythm, but it's all melody to me. So
Yeah.
when you listen to that and then watching the documentary and seeing what was that process, how do you get from the moment somebody brings in the song to the moment it's recorded and it's on stage? And it was funny to watch Ringo just listening and watching and letting the thing develop.
Yeah.
Amazing. You
Yeah,
know?
that's my biggest joy. It definitely, even when I do sessions, somebody gives me the tracks ahead of time. I'm trying to, like, where's their groove or where's their little thing? Even now, I play with Ray. We have a band, Lamp, with this guitar player Scott Metzger, and we got this new song. We're going in the studio in July, and this one song, the section, and I found it yesterday. It was like, that's it. It's like I couldn't. It was like, nah, that's not right. And you find it, and it's like so special. That's what I saw. Even like that. I mean, I saw Let It Be when it came out. That was a depressing kind of compared to what that one was. But you would hear it like they sounded okay. They're rehearsing, and it's kind of like raggedy a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it's like, whoa! It just hits that next level when they find that. And that's being in a band. It's not
Yeah.
just trying to do the session in one take and whatever, which is cool too. But it's a band sound. It's really
And
wonderful.
finding, yeah, the part. I mean, the one that's always been a mystery to me is Get Back, right? That was the
Mhm.
one that the unanswered question. So I said to Greg, I was waiting for the moment to see when they're playing in rehearsal to the rooftop, and there's a part missing. Like what happened between then and then? When did he come up with that part? And I asked Greg, and Greg says Ringo doesn't remember.
Oh wow! Oh man.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
he goes that. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, that's like a country kind of thing or whatever, a gallop, whatever. But it's so good.
Yeah, but you or I'm sure would not have played that. We would have played something
Yeah,
else. But then you say, how did he come up with that genius part? And it just
yeah.
instantly on the roof. And I don't think anybody heard it before. He just decided
Well,
in the moment that that's what it was. It just came to him.
yeah,
That is funny.
unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah.
so good. That rooftop thing. It was in the original Let It Be too, but it's like, but yeah. I mean, if you go back to, I mean, like I love the early stuff, but of course, I was kind of like a young hippie kid, so like the more psychedelic stuff kind of took hold. But if you go back and listen to the early stuff, it's really swinging hard. But what was,
Oh yeah.
if I always tell my students, go listen to, like, Help or something like that. It's like it's fast and swinging really hard. It's so good.
Oh yeah. Or even
Yeah.
even songs like we even before, like there are places I remember. Remember that one? Don't
Yep.
that the hi hat, the way is placed, in
Yeah.
very simple line. But if you do anything else, it kills it.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. He really, really. I love Ringo. It just gets better every time I hear him. You know what I mean?
So you
I got,
remember I made a comment to you when I heard you playing when you came through town playing with Trey, and I was noticing, and I really appreciate this. The choice of cymbals, the frequency of the cymbals, and you notice it right away when somebody's paying attention, and you're very much
huh?
like that. Like you're the groove guy that really pays attention to the groove. It's not about your chops and how fast and what I can do to look cool here for my friends. And I'm listening to it and I'm saying, wow, that's amazing, because it's like what we do in the studio automatically. You're playing something, but you're really sensitive to where that pitch is, where that instrument, whether it's a cymbal,
All
a
right.
cowbell, a drum, that it fits in the sonic spectrum there. And I was really noticing that, because
Huh.
all your I don't know if you did it on purpose or just your ears tell you that, but I'm saying, wow, that's amazing, because there's never any conflict
Right,
of
right.
the pitches.
Interesting.
Did you do that on purpose?
Well, I mean, for me, it's a lot of times I get the ride like right in the middle, and as I do the solo, I go up to the bell. That's kind of like, okay, here I go. I'm going to the bell again with the tip of the stick. Kind of like I'm very influenced by Jim Gordon too. If you
Yeah.
listen to Low Spark or High Heel Boys when he played on that, it's swinging, do 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 ba do 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 ba. It has that little bounce to it, and people always say, "Russ, give me the Russ feel." I'm like, "What's that?" And when I was younger, it's like, "Oh, I got a little swing in my playing." All right, but yeah, I look for that. I try to stay out of the way and whatever. Again, too, it's that little thing. Thank you, man. And that's that nice symbol that my buddy Kim Dunning from Zildjian picked out for me. So that doesn't hurt when you get like the choice guys
Yeah.
picking your symbols for you.
But also your hi-hat cymbals too. I mean, all of them, all of those cymbals always fit in. It's like tuning to the track, or tuning to
Ah,
the song, or all of that,
yeah,
and it matters. I mean, what you play, as far as groove, as far as melody, or as far as instrument that you choose and where you play it. I mean, Ringo always plays, like, as far as I know. I mean, I'm not an expert at it, but close to the bell, same place,
right.
like Jim
Yeah,
Gordon
tight.
does.
Yeah. And then he
He's
do
up
the
there.
and he didn't have any ride symbols. They're all crash symbols too, or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
So interesting. That's
yeah,
why he had to probably play by the close to the bell because it was so washy.
yeah.
That's
But he
yeah,
but he
just
still does
you
that.
know,
Every time I watch him, and I watch, where how he's playing, he's always in that spot.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that sweet spot there. Can you imagine? Hey, I got being in that band, like, hey, I got some new songs. Smokes. I mean, I feel like that about Trey. He's always writing so much, and it's like we just played a bunch. We got like 10 new songs, and it's just like, oh, it's just so and sometimes I bring in beats and he writes songs around them. So I'm so lucky that I'll be
Nice.
right because I write beats a lot, and I do that with Ray. I have a band Solely Monday and Lamp, and that's sometimes we're right around the grooves. And then he does that. Wow. Like it's so
Do you
it's
write these down?
what's that?
Do you write these grooves down, or you just?
Yeah. Oh, well, I did the last one. We had because of the COVID, we had to cancel like we were just going to get together, and I was at the studio with his assistant, and I just gave him like 20 beats and whatever. And I was like, I wasn't prepared. I was like, let's put some beats down. I'm like, okay, okay, and I record them, and then I have a log of them. So I try to remember as many as I could, and a lot of them made it into these cool songs. I feel very fortunate, It's
Nice.
because it's like rewarding, It's what's that beat? And sometimes like I've tried it, other people like, nah, it doesn't work. Okay, maybe that beat's too weird, So I'm like, no, it ain't. This guy, he's a badass writer. Well, Ray and I do that a lot too. We write, 80% of the material starts with the beats.
Good.
So
Nice.
and I write a little bit. I'm like not super prolific, but I will always put out songs under my name, and just like rock songs. I get lucky and do them in here and there.
Yeah,
Play a
I
little
know you
guitar
had
and
you
sing. And
you did a song for Fish, or did you not? That got attention.
yeah, we started playing in '98 and '99. We did our first tour, and then it was like 3 songs from that Farmhouse album. First two, which still in the list, Sand and Got a Jaboo, which is still on the list. Again, too, it's just stuff that I brought in. Believe me, he took it to the stratosphere. I just give him some beats with some attitude, and he took it from there. And Tony was alive too then, and whatever. And just give him a bed, a nice bed, kind of like what the hip hop guys do, I guess, whatever, And
Sure.
yeah, I was very fortunate, and I was very fortunate that he gave me credit for it, whereas some other person, oh, thanks for the beat, man,
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
It's very
No,
generous.
no, that's so important. I mean, that's being honest, being real, because I mean, we know a lot of artists who take all the credit. I mean, I won't mention names,
Yes,
but we
exactly.
know, we know
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Because would that hold up in court? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Levon Helm, I know he was bitter with the band. I know, whatever, not to get into that, but there's certain things that maybe even if, yeah, whatever. It's the band life.
Yeah.
It's
No, but I
like,
mean, also,
I've
I
heard all the
mean,
stories.
just giving credit it just feels so good, to give credit to all those people who participated. You're not going to get
Yeah.
any poorer, but you're going to get so much richer in the positive experience and just feeling good about it, you know.
It's why I play music, because I know if the creativity, it's like, this is why I do it. Something turns into it. It develops into something really wonderful. It's like, it's so rewarding. I mean, Ray lives, the keyboard player from Trey Band, lives right up the street from me. We get together at his place, and I'm driving. He lives up the mountain. I'm driving back down on like a day. There's a beautiful day in Vermont. It's like, what's wrong with this? I moved back to Vermont many years ago, and I just wanted to get my living environment together. I live in the middle of all this acreage, and I can play my drums anytime I want. And it's
Nice.
like I got the lifestyle that I've been wanting. It's pretty
Yeah.
great.
No, that's nice. I mean, to get to the point where you control your environment and you don't have all that traffic noise or construction sites or concrete that falls on your head.
Or neighbors. No, I know we used to rehearse in Boston. We called them Metal Hell. It was like, I don't know how many rooms, 60 rehearsal rooms. And a lot of the people are like, we're waiting for those guys to tire out. Then we can practice our nice songwriting song or whatever. It was a lot.
Nice, nice. But do you have a routine that you do every day that
I do pretty much every day, maybe in the weekends, maybe if I'm gigging or if my wife's home, I'll do it later. But yeah, I wake up, make some coffee and feed the dogs and get some time in. Cause the day, if you wait, something's going to happen. The phone's going to ring or something, you need to do some business, and which is very important too. But yeah, like I did that today. I went out and practiced in the little shed because and then I have a electronic kit that I use for like tonight when everybody goes to bed. I'll get another hour in and work. And we got 2 shows coming up with Lamps. I'm just reviewing. We got a bunch of new songs and reviewing stuff for the next 2 days.
nice,
So
nice.
yeah,
And
I got a routine.
and that's important. I mean, I'm glad you're saying that because some people think that once you reach a level, practicing is boring or you don't have to learn new things. Well, it's about being in shape mentally and physically, right?
It certainly is. You can't not let it. It's like being an athlete, to a certain extent, in that sense of you got to be, you got to be sharp and let it. And I just enjoy it too. It's like something. My poor daughter, when she was home and when I was home with her in the day or something, my wife was working. And, let's go to the park. And it's like, okay, give me an hour and a half, and I'll be happy to take it. Like this, I just need that time because I know it's gonna slip away if we don't wait. But yeah, but I enjoy it. It's not like it's, I gotta practice. I'm like,
Right.
I'm more like, if I don't practice, like Dad's in a bad mood because he didn't practice.
Yeah. No, I guess it's that release of you're mentally in shape and you're there. And I mean, I get depressed when I can't practice or I don't have time or to get to something.
Yeah.
Because I make the rounds of all the percussion stuff, all the
Phew.
drum set stuff, and sometimes I can't make up my mind. So
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I got the drum set and trying to write a little bit or whatever too. But yeah, it's good. And I mean, I think about it when I was a kid. I mean, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. Nobody was like, "Where you get lessons?" I was just, I went, got a paper route, got me a drum set, and I would just go upstairs and lose myself in my drumming. Didn't have any technique. Didn't have any I just knew what I liked. I would go up there and play, and I do the same. I feel like I'm still doing the same thing. It's an expression I need to get out every day.
right. Do you? I see a guitar behind you. Do you also play guitar?
I do a little bit for songwriting. I get ideas for songs, and then I toss them over to a band. Like we have one trio that we play once a month around Burlington, and then, like I said, I sing a little bit. I never really was somebody that was super prolific, so I get lucky, couple, here and there, and write songs, and get some choruses, and Yeah, and again too, that really helps you as a drummer, because it was another big lesson when the 8-track Ataris, when we still started getting the recording with the reel to reel. My roommate, it was a guitar player. He goes, "How come every time we play your song, the drums are really simple, but when we play one of mine, you're always playing busy?" I'm like, trying to express myself as a drummer, but in mine. Well, at the same time, I think I kind of had the drum part already figured out. It was the whole package, coming in recorded. But yeah, I play a little bit. I'm not that great. I'm just for song, chords, and trying to figure out something to bring into the band. But
Right. No, it makes a
yeah,
difference. I think having a good sense, a melodic sense, or chords and how things work. Those who haven't studied music as a career or as students, it really makes a difference. The more music
yeah,
you learn, right? I have students who then later on decided to take up piano or another instrument, and I said, absolutely, you should do it. The more music you can put in your hands and in your head, then it makes more sense on the drums or any instrument, percussion instrument, because that's all. It's all
yeah,
about the music and how does that fit into what you're doing, whether it's
yeah.
classical or pop.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely. And if when I'm writing songs, like it's the arrangement. Oh, because I would work with producers, and we come in with a good song, and he like turn it into a great song. Like, whoa! I never thought about putting the intro as the bridge or whatever it may be. And when you're writing too, it's like, okay, this is this is like going on forever or whatever it may be. I'm a big arranger, but you just really see how you can make it a good song, a great song, or something. It's
Yeah.
very interesting.
No, yeah, that's an interesting. I mean, letting other people guide you because sometimes you don't see the full picture. You're
Yeah,
thinking, even Trey must be like that too. You're seeing it in one way, but somebody else is standing there or listening to this, and here's totally something else that would make it what it could be, right?
yeah, it's just works in there. It's back to that guy Lofty again. He go, "My brother man, two heads are better than one." He'd always say, or he'd come on like, "We got to do that, man." It's like it was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I was a young kid. I was like 22 years old, going, oh, that's what he means. Never
Right.
really been. I was in like a little original band back on the Cape or something. But this guy toured all over the world with Zzebra, played with Stevie Wonder and all these people he's played with,
Right.
and it was like
What
for the
were
guy to
some of
take me
the
under his wing. It was cool.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, there are a lot of people who move to Vermont. Vermont is like out in the middle of nowhere, really, but there's a lot of great people over there that have come in and out, and I've run across people
Yeah,
in Vermont, and I'd say, "What are you doing here?"
yeah, it's a little haven. I know. It's that was my goal. I was back down in Boston, and I was like, my goal is to get back here, and we did it. But now it's been 20 years.
20 years.
It's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it is. It's a lot. The bass player from the Cars, he passed away. He used to live up here. I didn't know him then. I used to see him in Boston with little bands before the Cars made it big. But yeah, there's people up here. I did a session with that guy John Fusco. He does all those movies like he's done all these like kind of Western style movies. He lives up here. He's a songwriter too. And yeah, there's people tucked away.
Oh yeah.
That guy Luis Guzman. He's a actor. He shows up at the gigs. Pretty funny guy. I like that guy. It's very
That's right.
expressive. Dude,
Yeah,
but yeah, they're tucked away.
they'd never find him in Vermont. That's for sure, because there's too many mountains.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no cell service. No, I get cell service, but yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
there's another woman, famous actress, lives up the street from me here. uh, what's her name? Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal. She lives up here too. I see her at the co-op. What's up? It's cool.
Nice. What are some of the? I mean, playing with guys like Trey and as big as Phish became. What were some of the really funny stories that happened in that whole environment? Because Phish really came out of the idea of something. What was the? It just escaped me. Oh, that whole. We used to call it the tie dye generation. Uh,
Yeah, more like a Grateful Dead thing.
yeah, the whole
Everybody
Grateful
relates it to
Dead
that. Yeah.
movement that Fish kind of took from that, right? It was out of the Vermont vibe, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I came up here, like, and was playing with the band was called Zzebra with two Z's, black and white musicians together, wonderful. Yeah, there was like a lot of like people, like, you know, the tie dye or whatever you want to call it, the
Yeah.
Indian skirt thing or whatever. But they're very open minded. People
Yeah.
were coming out, and I'll tell you, at that time, I was living in Woodstock, New York for 1 year, but I'm from Boston. At that time, it was the busing thing, integrating the school systems. And black and white musicians wasn't a good, I was playing with Doug Wimbish and those guys, and we had like, it was like a
Right.
cover band, but we get like a month engagement, and we got after 2 weeks, and it was like, they got rid of us. It was a very sad time.
Okay.
So come up here, and people were selling out these little rooms. It was like, yeah, man, these people are open-minded up here. And it's cool, you know. It was,
Yeah.
of course, it was a Burlington. It was a college town too, so the educated
Yes.
people, you know. But
Yeah.
but
I mean,
yeah, it was a whole. Yeah, even us. We moved to L.A. and like it was a new wave thing, and nobody knew what to do with us. Of course, like the Talking Heads didn't get influenced by that stuff yet, but we were down in Venice Beach because it was that's where all the hippie kids were down there or whatever, or
right.
people.
Right.
But yeah, it's an underground scene. It's very interesting.
But it's very big.
Yeah.
And it's
And
still,
very-
I mean, you still see those people packing the rooms because it's the same. Like when I went to see Trey, it was like those same people, just a little older.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful.
Now it's like, can you play the weekends? Because I gotta get a babysitter now. But then the younger kids come. Yeah, it's so wonderful, man, to get that kind of, you're not relying on the hit. You know, like I was think about like I'm right here, and like the Cars didn't have a hit, so that their next tour didn't sell as well. Whatever, you hear these stories.
Sure.
Those guys, that doesn't matter. You know, it's like he's always writing songs. He's writing them, but I mean, you know, it just, yeah, it's really cool, and it's ageless too. I really feel like, you know, it's never like, okay, who's the old dude on the drums? You know,
Sure.
it's or whatever.
Sure.
It's pretty cool.
And I mean, it's like, you know, I think what I look up to, for example, the Rolling Stones. I mean, talk about ageless. Everybody shows up to see the Stones.
Yeah.
No matter how. And I was in Havana when they're there. There are 1 million people.
Wow.
And, you know, I mean, crazy of all ages, and they're still out there. You know.
Yeah,
And
there's
no
some
matter
better
what.
than other. You know, there you go. There's the thing. Like I always like remember years ago, I was like, wow, everything's so fast. And then I was watching a video, and then Chuck Leavell had a metronome, and then my friend, he was the musical director. We were playing with Whoopi Goldberg for a little while. She was trying to do this comedy thing, and he went to the Stones gig. You get the set list with all the tempos on the right side.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so I don't know if they still do that, and I looked over and Chuck Leavell, I swear he had like a Tama metronome and start the song. Now they don't even need that. They just do it because the in-ears or something. But
yeah. And Charlie Watts, apparently, I mean, I didn't know him personally, but I mean, of course he had his own style, but everybody referred to him as the Rock. I mean, he didn't move. It was amazing, and it's funny because he was a jazz musician, right? He considered himself a jazz musician.
He wanted to play jazz, and he got in that band. He got the right. He picked the. You know, like I would say, like a kid tomorrow, could join some band and go to the stratosphere, but it's no rhyme or reason. But it worked again too. He's another one like Ringo. What was before? They all like Mitch Mitchell. They wanted to play jazz.
That's right. Yeah.
They wanted, so they put that into the music and swing so hard, man. Yeah. It's like so cool.
Yeah, I actually have a record, an album, a vinyl of Charlie Watts's big band.
And, right, I remember that.
Yeah, and I have it. It's still, and I listen to it because I love listening to my LPs. I have a whole collection. I used to have like 5,000 LPs, and it was just ridiculous. Wow. And then I said I sold my whole collection because it was all impeccable. I said, I don't have room for all of this. So I kept about 200, which are unique ones, and the ones that I played on, you know, and ones that I saw the Charlie one. I said, oh my God, I'd forgotten I had that. And he did a whole tour with that whole project, big band. I remember.
Yeah, I remember that. I couldn't go. He was playing in Boston. I couldn't go to it. I was bummed out because it's like sometimes like, you gotta go. Whatever. I think I had a gig or something like that. But yeah, there you go. He had like that big band, and I love his playing on those records, man. I mean, I love Steve Jordan a lot. He's so amazing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to replace Charlie, man. You know, it's like he does a great job. I don't even know what I'm saying, but Charlie's pretty unique, you know. In that, you know,
and the whole thing. Once I remember when I finally figured out, you know, the whole thing. He wouldn't play the hi hat at the same time as the snare drum.
yeah,
And the day it dawned on me, I said, "That's part of it. That whole thing."
yeah. He gets that air, that snare comes right through. Honky Tonk Woman and stuff. Oh my God. It's just, yeah. And plus I would say too, and plus how those records were recorded too, like Let It Bleed and those records, like, oh my God, it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Gretsch drums, but I think he used to use like a Ludwig snare. And then, I don't know, I forget what he's using after, but I'm a big old Ludwig snare guy. I still got mine when I was a kid and stuff.
No, the Ludwigs are really hard to beat. I mean, I have Ludwigs I've been playing Ludwigs all my life. And my very first kit was a Ludwig that I bought secondhand, silver sparkled.
Oh, beautiful!
The classic, like the Joe Morello kit, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I bought it from somebody who was used to live nearby his room used to be in the front of the house. So when the sun shone, you see the silver sparkle, and I would walk by slowly and look in, and just drool. And then the day I heard that he was selling it, I ran to his house.
That's amazing. Wow, I know. That's when you look at those like drums.
And it's funny because I took those drums apart because you know the springs in them that used to ring. So I took them completely apart, put them on the ground in my house, put cotton inside all of those. I sprayed the inside, and I used those for a very long time in studios afterwards. No matter what other drums I was using, these were like incredible. The sound.
Yeah, I'm like that with Gretsch. I've been playing Gretsch when I was 17, and same thing. I have a couple Ludwig kits too, but I travel with this one band, and after a while, I'm like, I miss my Gretsch bass drum, you know. So I stay with my Gretsch stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
you get attached to those things, and it's that special sound.
Yeah.
Some drums I can play till the cows come home. It just doesn't feel right, but it's like shoes or clothes. It's a very personal thing, right?
Yeah, that kit that you saw me with, that's a 70s Gretsch, and I found those. I was so lucky. But that's my original kit. It's in my basement. Is that walnut? I bought it in the early 70s at the place called Wurlitzer's at the top of Newbury Street in Boston. When it was, but $350 back now. It's put another zero on it.
Yeah, no, and I used to buy Gretsch drums because I used to do a TV show, and I would have and recording, so I would have drums all over the place, and I bought. It was in LA. I bought actually 2 drum sets. One was a dark mahogany, and I had a 6 to 8, 10, 12, like 3 on the tom on the bass drum, and 2 floor toms. And I mean, they sounded amazing. And then they said, "Oh, they're too dark. Why don't you get? Can you brighten up the stage a little bit for the? Because it was a live show. We were 19 musicians." Right. So then I got the cherry color Gretsch.
Oh, I love it. I have a cherry one. I love the cherry.
But somebody said to me, "Aldo, I love your drums. Can I buy them? You have so many others." So sure, I would sell them to friends and then just buy another one. And then of course I regret it. And there's one friend of mine who's a very good drummer now living in Toronto. Every time he sees me, he says, "Do you remember that Gretsch set you sold me?" And I said, yes, I remember it well.
Oh man, that's nice of you. Yeah, I have the cherry one. I love that, and the walnut, the walnut you saw me play with, and I got a couple sparkle. I got this 60s Gretsch right here. Didn't recover, but 2012, 14. That's my go-to. Other than when I play with Trey, like more like the smaller sizes. I like that, a little understated.
Right, but you can get a lot out of those drums. And I used to. Yeah. I mean, I used to make drums myself, but this is way back in the 70s. I added 2 inches to the bass drum and all the drums, because I noticed that by having it deeper, like my bass drum at the time was 18 by 18 that I made.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because then I realized, I mean, I'm a small person, so people wouldn't see me. So I'm going to make really small drums so I can be seen and I can see.
That's excellent.
And then I realized by doing that I have a fundamental that's there that wasn't there before.
Interesting. That's cool.
And
Yeah.
another past life experience.
I know, right? We all got those now. It's like, I think about that sometimes. It's like, how long you been playing music? What have you been doing? It's like, we got this band Lamp that's been really getting some attention, and it's like my wife's laughing. It's like, all these years you've been doing original music, and you're close to getting signed. You do get signed, big management, nothing really. And now this thing's been getting some attention. It's pretty nice. It's not that you're looking for it. You're just trying to get your music out there, and as people are showing up at the gigs, like, really, we sold out tonight. I mean, not big places, but 300 seater or something. But to me, it's like, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, no, that's a great feeling that what you're saying is being listened to, right?
Yeah, people buying merch, and it's like, it's an instrumental band too. It's not like we're trying to, it's pretty fun, pretty cool.
Nice,
keeping it going.
So you're in all of these projects, and then Trey is your main one right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, we try to look at the schedules, and hopefully it works, and we do that. We've been doing it for years, and then Phish is kicking in the summer, so we won't do anything. Then we got few things. We got some stuff in the fall, and then we start talking. Management calls up, and we start comparing notes, and you're always hoping that nothing's, like when I had something and I had to get out of. It was a smaller gig. So I play around town. I love playing, around town, and play with this funk band, Grippo Funk Band. I play with those guys. There's like a jazz fest in Burlington this week. So we did 2 nights at Lamp, 1 night with those guys. And so once in a while you got to, you do, it's like, sorry, man, I got to go. I get this big gig in Asbury Park I got to play. So, you try to, they understand, because they, if it was happening to them. The horn player is his band. He was in the horn section with Trey for a long time.
Right.
The big, I think they call it the big country horn. So he was doing that since, the beginning. Yeah, nice. I do that with Trey, and then our band Lamp, and we have the 2 of us solely Monday, and then other sessions and things come in.
Fantastic.
Go back.
What are you hoping to do next before you run out of stuff to do? I'm just kidding about that.
No. It's funny. I think I'm a big fan of Tony Allen. He died when he was 80, unfortunately, too young, but he was always doing stuff. So many albums, so many people he's played with, the younger artists to really. So he's my inspiration for a lot of stuff. I just keep being creative, and it's with Lamp now. We're going to be making another record, and I play with people. I just keeping the creativity going, and just working on stuff, beats and things, and who knows? I mean, keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm a strict vegan. I don't really drink too much. I don't do drugs. I keep very healthy. When I was a young musician, I wasn't used to touring with that band Zzebra. I got severe strep throat. Not really doing drugs or anything, just not eating good, staying up late, and you really get your butt kicked. And you figure out that if you're going to do this, you got to stay healthy.
That's right. Yeah. There's no way out.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no way out. There's no way out. And you just and that will help you. I mean, a lot of people around me are passing away. It's pretty heavy. Some abused themselves. Some just got sick, or whatever. And it's sad,
Yeah.
So I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. No, and
my wife said, my wife says, you're not quitting, right? You're not going to retire. I'm like, no way.
Retire from what?
Oh, exactly. I already am retired, man. I'm living the life that people want to live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it's funny because Yolande does this to me. She says, I say, Yolande, I can't get a job, right? I've never been able to get a job. So. And I'm not giving up now.
I tried it for a couple of years, man. I worked at this research lab. It was a really cool job, but I was just coming in later and later because I was staying up late rehearsing every night, doing gigs. It wasn't working out.
Yeah.
They're like, Russ, you gonna come in anymore? You're gonna like, oh, guys, I'm gonna go. I joined this band.
Yeah. Well, you got
Yeah.
to, I think what's really important is you got to go where your heart is, where your mind is, and where you're best, where you are your best, right? I mean, that's, you
Yeah,
know,
and work hard to keep it going, to keep it up, and it's not really hustling, whatever. Just keep it. Business side of it's really important too, and showing up, and everybody thinks you're like with Trey. It's like, oh yeah, man, must be like cool. You got to show up. At bus calls at 3:00. You better be there. Sound checks at 3:30. People
yeah.
think it's a big party. It isn't. It isn't. It's a great party, but it's responsible party.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. That's. I think that's the part of the professionalism. I mean, you have to show up, and everything has to be correct. I mean, and then you have the
Yeah.
creative. Then you have the fun.
Yeah, man. I practice when I get a tour coming up. I'm hitting those songs like weeks ahead of time. I'm counting them all off too. So I gotta, it's different if you're in your band, full time band or whatever, touring. Like we haven't seen each other in a year. Then we're doing 3 weeks like this last one. I can't remember the last time we played in September. I think we finished up last September 23, and here we go. Revisit like. Oh, I know that song. Like, oh, I forgot about that section right there. Whatever. So you got to go over it.
Yeah, yeah. And those, yeah, and then that's what keeps you young, keeps you interested, keeps you interesting, right?
Thank you. That's another thing that guy. I keep referencing him, but my brother, man, music keeps you young. I'm like, I don't know. I'm 22. You're my father's age. what, what do you mean? I guess so. Now I'm
Yeah,
there. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it's true.
yeah,
Yeah, it does keep you young.
and that makes it interesting, and always have things to look forward to doing. And no matter, I mean, the age thing, I think what happens is, and you only realize later that your mind is still the same age from when you gained consciousness, whenever that was, whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
15 or 25, but you're still there. Physically, you change, but as long as you keep the house in order, right?
Yes, exactly.
The mind is
Yeah.
still the same. It's the same person. I
Yeah,
mean,
I see that. My dad's going to be 92 in a couple of weeks. He still
wow.
drives. We got him a computer a bunch of years ago. Pays all his bills online and does it. And he's just like, I'm like, God, he's an inspiration. It's so cool. And you call him if you would have called him right now, but like it wouldn't be like hello. It's like, hey, how you doing? And he's like got the energy. Walks every day. Does like that's it, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep it
No,
moving.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Russ, I really want to thank you. I mean, we could talk for weeks about all of this stuff.
I know, right? I hope we
it's,
talked about. Did we talk about? We talked about it. It's some good stuff, like whatever.
yeah.
I get going here.
But thank you for joining me. And it's, all of this is inspiration because it is what you make it, right? At the end of the day, right?
Yes, yeah. It's like there's no regrets. Or my dear friend, I play with that band Zzebra. He lives in London, and we talk a lot. We're still close friends, and it's like, yeah, you can put your head in the pillow at night. Like, yeah, maybe some of these bands didn't get to the next level, but wow, did we have fun trying? And did I learn a lot? Or I got some dear friends. The bass player, I play another one. It's always the bass player and drummers, but he had a big birthday coming up. We're on the phone talking, and it's like, what? It's like you got to prepare when you make the call. You're in for a walk, which is great.
Nice, nice.
All those experiences are just I see like army buddies or something.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been those travels and those experiences that don't go away.
Yeah.
You did it. You did it.
They
Right?
don't, man. They don't, man. People I love dearly. Like I always say, they can knock on my door right in the middle of the night tonight, and I'm like, "What's going on? Come on, something, whatever." Whew.
Yeah.
Like family.
That's
Pretty
right.
amazing. But well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
No, and thank you for joining me on these conversations. I mean, make you feel good, and other people who listen in, they see that they're not alone in thinking certain things or taking certain paths. They see what everybody else is doing. So it's just an inspiration of what's out there. What's out there is whatever you want to make it, but you got to have the right mindset. I mean, that's important. Right.
Yeah, it really is. Even like one sentence, I know, like I can read one sentence from some other musician or drummer, like, wow, you feel that way too about that? Or whatever. It's like, wow, I'm not alone or
You're
whatever.
not
It's
alone. Well said. And you're not, yeah, that's it. You are not alone.
yeah. We're just trying to stay in it, man, and be happy and play good music.
Yeah. All
Whatever.
right. Well,
But thank
thanks
you.
again, Russ, and I really appreciate it and wishing you the best. And as I always say, to be continued.
To be continued.